So, hello. It's We're beginning with an interesting gene key today, gene key 15, which deals with these kind of voids that happen naturally in life. So it's really interesting that I've kind of been in one of these voids and deciding I felt like I needed to let go in the void and let the void sort of deepen rather than just keep doing what I've always done, and see what emerged. And so it feels like it could be useful on Soul Tribe and for myself, because it's a really powerful way of tuning in to the pulse of the gene keys as they transit, to follow them each week and just get a little bit of my experience of this gene key. I might not have them of all the gene keys, but I do of this one, and look at the programming partner and just anything really intuitively that I feel to share. Perhaps it might sometimes be the dream arc animal, if I've had an experience with that. And then we'll do a process to work with the shadow and the gift. So it's not going to be a long session, and there'll be just a little bit of time at the end to feedback. Okay, so let me talk about Gene Key 15. It has the shadow of dullness, the gift of magnetism. So this is a really important gene key to understand things like prosperity, like why people are attracted to certain people and other people not. So the greater our magnetism in the gift, the more people will naturally gravitate towards us. And then this gift of fluorescence. So this is the Siddhi mudra, which you'll be doing in the daily meditation at the moment, which is the flowering of consciousness. And you might recognize it as one I used in that celestial communication where we went up and drew the energy down. So I really love this one. It's like the flowering of universal consciousness. And I'm not sure if this is where Richard Rudd talked about it, but he once talked about like the foxglove, how the flowers start to open, but they don't all open at the same time. They open one after the other, and this is what it's like for us humans. So our consciousness opens, and we influence other people's consciousness to open. But then at some point that plant has to die back, and then there is this void or emptiness experience. And none of us like it very much, and we have so many things in our world that can fill that space of that emptiness, like social media, any kind of addiction, reach for a chocolate, reach for a drink, reach for something to not feel the uncomfortableness of that situation. So this shadow of dullness, the programming partner, Gene Key 10, has the shadow of self-obsession. And I think these two are an interesting combination. And this shadow of self-obsession is a one that I've actually found myself more and more kind of intolerant to as the years have gone on. And I certainly have it in myself. So firstly, I want to acknowledge that what I can't tolerate in other people less and less is this kind of circling round over and over again with the same old story. So, you know, we might have a friend, and every time we see them, they're like really stressed by work, or their relationship is terrible, and you kind of really feel for them. But when you've sort of been listening to the same thing for 2 years, and the person sort of studiously managed to ignore any any good advice coming their way on how they might change the situation, then it becomes, it's like you start to see this person's in the cycle of self-obsession, and I say I've been there myself many a time, and it just goes round and round like the hamster wheel. So the point with the shadow is to kind of think about habitual patterns, how to make ordinary life enjoyable, and to change our response to those moments of dullness, or you could call it ebb, is another way, because I live by the sea, so I'm very aware of like the ebb and flow of the ocean. And the tide can't be in all the time. It can't always be that things are growing. Sometimes they have to die back. So that seems to be the big lesson with this 15th, connected with, I feel like connected a lot with plant life, and this idea of verdant green energy. But that verdant green energy comes because the plants died back, the seed fell into the ground, and it waited there for who knows how long. Maybe it waited for a fire even. So in nature we see how things patiently wait, and then at their right time the new growth cycle starts again. And if we force and push that, we start to actually diminish our physical energy. So thinking about then magnetism and naturalness is the gift of the 10th gene key, the programming partner. So in magnetism, it talks a lot about the Schumann resonance, which is like the heartbeat of the earth. And our natural way into magnetism is to attune to the earth's rhythms. So actually, I think just like going for a walk every day and observing nature, observing the changing cycle is enough if we do that consciously, even for half an hour, just to really plug into nature in some way and unplug from our computer lives and just go and kind of experience the magnetism of the earth. Like, the magnetism of the earth is amazing. Like, it's holding the moon there and the oceans, and you know, if you imagine if the earth lost its magnetism, it just like would die. And that's what happens when a person loses their magnetism. They kind of just start to dim and dull down. And maybe, like, if we look at the self-obsession, we could say the reason why a person loses their energy and their dynamism is because they just keep going on this hamster wheel. They don't try something new. You know, they just keep going with the same victim story, or bad habits, or whatever it is that is draining their energy. And then the cities, always love the cities. So the city is fluorescence, and this is, you know, the blossoming of life and our spirit. And what Richard Rudd says is being able to reach the city directly relates to our ability to be in the dullness. And the dullness is part of our human experience. And he describes it almost like being in the middle of a seesaw that's not moving. That's the dullness. And so in a way it's good to reach the dullness, and it's from this that the Siddhic state can arise. So if we're always trying to fill our time, we never get to experience what's underneath that dullness, I guess. It's such a weird one, this one. I'm like, surely I'm not starting on this hard thing. But I kind of feel it. I feel the wisdom of attuning to the earth's energy as a way of living, and especially like our culture is very not able to go into emptiness and ebbing, dying back stages. It's like go, 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 go. You know, that constant kind of yang energy that's expected in our culture. So it is actually pretty countercultural to go into this state.
I guess a visualization of like the lotus rising, from the mud.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was just thinking as well, actually, of, the Chinese teachings. Like, if you're in yang all the time and you never renew your deep yin, then eventually you're going to get exhausted and burn out. So it's like really necessary to have these like inward, almost like dull moments, just to let yourself like naturally rejuvenate. So yeah, well, let's do we're going to do the welcoming prayer as our practice. So a couple of you have done this before, so I'm not going to go into a huge explanation about it, but it's what I'm using at the moment, and I find it really short and powerful. So what we're going to do is we're going to summon up a feeling of dullness or self-obsession. If we don't have one in ourselves, we can think about where we met it in someone else, or we're meeting it in someone else. And we're just going to hold that feeling for a minute and just notice the breath, the physiological changes as we hold that. And then I'm going to say some the welcoming prayer statements, and if it's an invitation to say them too, they can be quite challenging, so just take them on whatever level you wish. Okay, so let's begin just breathing in together, just really coming into consciousness that we're here together. As soon as we step out of self-obsession, we realize the field of interconnectedness. So let's really breathe into that. Relaxing, and once more breathing in. So from this place of centered stillness, I invite you to summon up, either in your own experience or someone who you see this pattern of dullness, of self-obsession, of just going round and round in the same pattern, unable to find freedom from that pattern. And you're just going to hold that for a minute. Just noticing what your body does as you allow the negative feeling, but we're also welcoming that feeling. We're welcoming it as a portal to the flowering of consciousness, to the fluorescence. Noticing where in your body you might hold that feeling. What emotions are evoked as you hold the feeling. Okay, and then let's gently breathe again. Take in a nice deep breath through the nose. And maybe a sigh. Releasing dullness and self-obsession. And I'm going to read the welcoming prayer statements as we release. I let go my desire for security and survival. I let go my desire for esteem and affection. I let go my desire for power and control. And I let go my desire to change the situation. So as we step out of the fearful self into the higher self, the greater self, also stepping into naturalness and magnetism. This is a natural state to be a magnetic being. We don't have to try, we just have to allow the ebbs and flows, the life, death, rebirth process. So thank you. Let's gently open your eyes when you're ready. Touch your thighs. Breathe in again, coming back to your centered, anchored, grounded self to begin the day. Being aware, really aware, just today, of being really attuned to those moments of dullness and to celebrate them, to let yourself drop deeper into them. I'm going to stop recording.